my Johnson. What did you do to me, Elizabeth?
Depot Devoid.
Depot Devoid!
Granted, what I did may have been a bit unorthodox, but hey!
Devoid.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Recording
You
in
fucked that up
progress.
real good.
Look, I can't hit a button just one time.
I mean, hey, just like in Spaceballs, you stopped the recording before
The
it even
world is my fidget spinner.
began. You know that causes cancer in California, right?
Only in California?
Yeah.
Fidget spinning?
Yes.
How does it do that?
I don't know. A lot of things do that. I also had a dead blow hammer that is known to cause birth defects in the state of California.
My nickname in high school was Dead Blowhammer, but for different reasons. Okay. Look, before we get started talking about Frankenhooker here on Depot Devoid,
About
you-
what?
where you are Ted Fagan.
Who am I?
You, Ted, are Ted Fagan, and this, Ted, is Depot Devoid. And I, Ted, am your brother, Matt. And I have to call attention to the elephant in the room, which is yesterday in this country was David Lynch's birthday. And
I'll allow it.
last week, we lost David Lynch. Legendary fucking filmmaker, David Lynch.
Shouldn't we take a recount?
I am sure that there was only one, and we would have noticed if he was still here. He was an amazing filmmaker, and it happens. I was, naturally, I've been watching a bunch of David Lynch movies and watching some Twin Peaks and just sort of enjoying what he left us with. And it turns out there is actually something that he had to say that was relevant to tonight's topic. And let's see if I can find. Here it is. Let's see.
I got to say that you're doing a lot better of a job than a lot of people who called me at work. Like, yeah, I needed to find this thing. Look, I should have probably come prepared.
Okay, so here is. Can you see my book here? Here is what he had to say. As one of America's most beloved independent filmmakers, I, David Lynch, have seen many movies about prostitutes built out of other prostitutes, but only Frankenhooker has the love, the sincerity, and the human heart to make me sing. Frankenhooker is truly the finest of its genre. And I think that, what David Lynch has to say about a fellow filmmaker's work is always relevant. But I think it's really special that we have an opportunity to talk about a movie that he clearly celebrated. So while we do have to acknowledge the sad times that we are going to have to keep going on without David Lynch, at least we've still got Frankenhooker.
And she will bring us permanent joy, knowing that it also brought joy to David Lynch.
I'm sure that nothing about Frankenhooker would ever unravel.
Yep. Well played.
So Ted, Frankenhooker, how much do you love it?
Well, it came out when I was 8 years old. And I saw it when I was 9, and I don't think I've seen it since then. And it is just as good as it was then, and not any better for all the details that I am now catching that I hadn't caught then as an adult. It's great. It's great. It's
It,
great.
it probably seems less risque than it did at 9. Um,
I don't know, Matt. I didn't know what risque was back then.
but it's
It's like,
still
all right.
it's pretty innocent for the type of movie that it is. Frankenhooker, again, yes, like as you said, it came out in 1990. This was written and directed by Frank Henenlotter. He did a few feature films. This is the most overtly comic. Like they're all sort of horror comedies, but this one is it's the silliest. Um, it is it is if anything about this movie was played realistically, it would be gross, but it's all very heightened and very cartoony and um really a lot of fun. And for a movie that has this many like half naked prostitutes, it's like, got a pretty innocent kind of point of view. Um, the level of exploitation on display is like slightly higher than Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, but not by much. Mostly only in the sense that the naked breasts are sustained throughout the movie.
They are. However, it's also interesting to take note of the fact that there's more screen time given to prosthetic naked women's body parts than there are to actual naked women's body parts,
The
which
prosthetics are
I
so
found
fun.
kind of confusingly entertaining to be like, we do want to show a lot of prosthetics in this because we're having fun, a lot of fun with it. Uh, but I don't know. I found it really really comical to watch this, and then also not to jump too far ahead, but all the exploding women bits. Uh, Somebody put a lot of work into that because those were actually
It,
built little
yeah, yeah.
mannequins of these
Yeah,
exploding
there's
prostitutes.
for a movie that uses like actual just pretty much mannequins to stand in for the actresses during the exploding parts. There is a fair amount of attention to detail put in so that through just like careful like not even super careful but fairly careful positioning in the performance and quick editing, it really it works. It is not in any way convincing. Nothing in this movie is attempting to be convincing, which is why this thing kind of works still all these years later. It is not it's somehow better than its title suggests. This, I mean, the name Frankenhooker is exactly the same thing as Velocipaster, but Frankenhooker, without having seen Velocipaster, Frankenhooker is way better and will withstand the test of time. And 1,000 years from now, film scholars will still be discussing Frankenhooker, and they will not be discussing Velocipaster, even though it has been remade 3 times, and there was a TV series and a Saturday morning children's cartoon.
Now it's all right. I suppose actually we should maybe start this movie where it
Like at the
began.
where at the beginning of it, is that what you mean?
Yes, but let's really skip past everything that's unnecessary.
So basically, everything before the line, a salad that was once named Elizabeth.
Oh, that's a waste.
I was very happy to see that on the special edition DVD, which obviously I have, there the interview with the actress Patty Mullen, who plays Frankenhooker, that the name of the interview on the menu is a salad that was once named Elizabeth. Interview with Patty Mullen.
That's pretty fun.
I also this is okay, so it starts at a birthday party for Elizabeth's dad. Elizabeth and Jeffrey are our lovely little star-crossed couple about whom the movie Frankenhooker will lay out their love story. And Jeffrey is not everyone's ideal boyfriend, not necessarily the guy that parents want their daughter to be bringing home. He dropped out of medical school. He works for the Department of Power for the town in Hocus, New Jersey, and he likes to build, I guess, monsters because he has one on their kitchen table during the party. He has also made a lovely and convenient remote control lawnmower for Elizabeth's dad. He's trying, he seems like he's trying to fit in. He doesn't seem great at reading the room. But people are pretty accepting of him, honestly. Like, given that he is not the ideal candidate, they have to admit as parents that their daughter's a fatty. And as a fat girl in New Jersey, she is less desirable, and they should probably unload her on the first schmuck who comes around. And that's Jeffrey. Until he kills her.
Wait. He didn't kill her.
Well, he provided the means. Her own lack of situational awareness is what actually killed her with the lawnmower. I feel like on some level we all saw that coming.
Just a bit. There wasn't any really hardcore foreshadowing. Just a hair.
Did you ever see a show on Nickelodeon called The Adventures of Pete and Pete?
That show was pipe.
Yeah, it was pipe. So here's the thing. When we first see Elizabeth's mom in the kitchen, I was like, who is that? Bill immediately said, is that Terry Garr? I'm like, no, it's not Terry Garr. But I started thinking, is that she's familiar looking? Is she possibly the mom from The Adventures of Pete and Pete? And so I looked up the cast later, and this is what was weird, is that no, she's not. But the newscaster who says a tossed human salad, a salad that was once named Elizabeth, is the mom from The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. So I just I made her be there, is what I'm saying, with the power of my wishes.
Well played. Well played.
You're welcome, fans. So yes, the movie begins with Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey Franken. Oh, I get it now. Because his name is Franken. And then the hooker part, and it goes together like Franken hooker. Ah, it's genius. So it begins with Jeffrey Franken chopping up his girlfriend. And
remember, Matt, he didn't do the chopping up. That was her own doing, not his fault.
I
remember it's important. It's not his fault.
I'm pretty sure that if this was Law and Order, Benjamin Stone would find a way to charge Jeffrey Franken with her murder and make it stick. Except that he lives in New Jersey, so it's outside of his jurisdiction. But that's the only reason. It's his fault.
Yeah, just over the bridge to the left.
And in the chaos, he stole some pieces. Her head, a foot, a hand, like a toe, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He got some chunks. There was a lot left behind, but he got some chunks, at least some of the good bits. Everyone knows. Hands and feet, them's the best parts. Nothing hides evidence like a stew.
So yeah, runs her over, and then he starts getting himself super fucked up, trying to figure out a way to bring her back. But also, we do have to bear in mind he's also planning on bringing her back, but upgrading.
Well, I it's not only for his own benefit. I think Elizabeth has clearly expressed a desire to have a hotter body. So, I mean, yeah, he gets some benefit. It's sort of like, if you buy your wife lingerie for Valentine's Day, like it's kind of for her and it's kind of for you, but it's not for her. So he gets her in a hot new body. It's, he gets the benefit too, but she wanted one. She says she wanted one. She's tried liquid diets and she's tried all the diets, Dad.
It's a really absolutely silly movie, and I honestly, from having not seen it since I was like 9 years old, it's exactly what I remembered, with a few things that are a bonus because I didn't quite catch them because I was 9 years old. But
It is not really appropriate for a 9-year-old.
what? Who told you that?
I feel like I should say this for our listeners. If any of them are scrambling to put this movie on for their 9-year-olds right now while they're listening to this podcast, I would suggest maybe you preview it first, or if there's like a number of boobs in your head that you think is like a tipping point for how, like, showing a movie to a 9-year-old, like
If you
maybe
think that it's okay to show Team America to a 9-year-old, you're probably on the right track for sharing this with your 9-year-old.
wait, the regular cut or the extended cut with the puppet pooping?
With the puppet food.
Okay, see, I feel like that's grosser.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, we're on the right track.
Yeah, okay, all right.
There's a lot of different stops along the way, Matt. It's the right track if we're doing that.
This is definitely the wrong side of the track. Yeah, so he is determined to bring Elizabeth back. And the way he is going to do that is, well, I mean, he was able to get her head and her foot and her hand, but as you can see, I don't know if you've ever tried to build a person, but that is not enough parts. And I feel like, especially because they were going to get married and stuff. And look, I don't want to be crude, but their wedding night might be kind of uneventful if it's just head, foot, hand, toe. I'm not saying there's nothing you can do with that, but I gotta say,
I mean,
like
it's gonna be
up until her dad's birthday, when they were imagining their wedding night and their beautiful union, like a union like this, like Franken and Hooker. When they were imagining that, it probably had more like going on than that.
but I mean, if you've got those parts, there are still ways that you can do it. And you've seen Doctor Who. I've seen Doctor Who. And there's that episode where the one guy's girlfriend ends up being turned into like a cement block
She's like
space
she
or a
gets turned
tile,
into like a paving tile.
and they still had a functional sex life.
Yeah, and they did. They very clearly implied that, and I think I am not alone in always wishing they hadn't. um, my
There is
point
that,
is
but
that
hey, they did it,
look,
right?
here's all I'm saying is that when Jesus invented people, he intended for Jeffrey Franken to put his penis in a vagina. And right now, Elizabeth doesn't have one. And so, like any good boyfriend, he's just going to hop across the bridge into the city and pick one up for her. And I think that's love.
But remember, he didn't go to pick just one up for her.
Well,
He was going to need at least
nobody
seven.
can eat just one, Ted.
Wait, Matt. Hold on. And are you trying to compare hookers to Pringles?
Look, I've had Pringles, but not hookers. So all I'm saying is that I'm just not sure. Maybe.
And also,
Once you pop, you can't stop.
God damn it. See, that's what I was going to say is once you're starting to try and relate it to this movie is once you pop, you can't stop because, I mean, super crack.
Also, once you pop your head off at the front, you can stop if you just sort of knock the back of your head and flip it back up.
Elizabeth! Elizabeth!
There's that, but also do bear in mind, and this is a very critical point that people should all realize in this movie, is the two times that heads exploded off of somebody and you saw an extended scene, those heads flew directly at other people right in the fucking face.
Well, when she fucks the chubby guy and he explodes, does that count as his head popping off? Because I mean, she's holding.
I thought she was holding it.
She was, but it's still like it clearly separated in the explosion. And if
but it wasn't a free loose head.
But it would have been
hands on, not the same.
Bait
on hook. You know, it stays in. It's attached.
Look, I'm gonna say something really controversial here, and this is not the right time to say it because we barely started talking about the action of this movie. But there will come a point when she has sex with a chubby guy, and then he explodes, and then she is holding his disembodied head. And then his disembodied head says, "That was wonderful." And Ted, I feel like that scene goes too far. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like it goes too far. I think that this movie expertly treads a delicate line between reality and fantasy, and in that moment, and only in that moment, the spell is broken, and I'm like, ugh, Frankenhooker, fa, I say to Frankenhooker.
Yeah, you know what? When you've got a disembodied head, it can't speak audible words.
Right? That just doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Unreasonable super crack makes you explode. You can run over people and throw them in a freaking unfunctional freeze dryer. doesn't even close with
The
bubbly
super
purple
crack,
liquid.
the super crack
Frustrating.
exploding people, well, making everything explode, honestly. Um, I love that. I love that whole thing. I think it's a great gag. I think that
Where's my super crack, Matt?
this, the special effects are beautifully silly. I it's all just like editing, and it's completely functional. The whole thing totally works. This is a cheap movie,
Oh yeah.
and it it all like it. I believe everything in this. I completely buy it. The whole thing works for me, and I think it's great. Um, so yes, we go to get a vagina and some other stuff, you know, like a torso, that sort of thing. Um, I guess it's not just a vagina. I just want, you know, I want their wedding night to be beautiful, and I know how sad they'll be if nobody has genitals. Because at the end of this movie, I'm still not sure that things are going to go on their wedding night the way we all planned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not like there was one vagina collected. There were 8 hookers, so we've got 8 vaginas and 16 legs and 16 arms. There's a lot of body parts here.
Yeah.
There's the
So
onesies and twosies. Just remember the onesies and twosies. It's easy enough to understand if you just break them apart like that when they
that's true,
explode from
and yeah,
exploding supercraft.
and they're easy to sort because I guess everything is cauterized.
And it's also incredibly lightweight,
It's oh yes,
apparently.
it's it's almost like foam rubber.
What?
uh there are many things that I love about this movie, and not like pretending that it looks real is I just I love this movie's attitude to itself. It knows what it is. His other movies are more serious. Not they're not like serious, but you probably haven't seen any of them, but you probably saw Basket Case around at on video store shelves.
No
Um,
idea.
Frank Henenlotter makes like horror exploitation movies, and they definitely have comical elements, but they tend to be more serious and dark. And this movie is not like at all. It is for a movie with a lot of dead people. It's sunny. It's downright sunny. Um, so he goes to New York to find some prostitutes, and he meets up with a pimp named Zorro and arranges to have basically a little show and tell parade with 8 prostitutes the following night to choose. And while he is there, he discovers that I don't know if you knew this, but prostitutes love crack. Like they love it. And
I don't think that's necessarily a fair assumption.
it's Ted, I just watched this movie and
This is also not a documentary.
I I don't even understand what you're saying. I'm just gonna
I mean,
move on
Matt,
because
hold on, hold on,
you
hold
don't
on.
make any sense. You sound crazy.
Abraham Lincoln versus Vampire Hunter was a documentary. This was a comedy film.
Abraham Lincoln was a fucking crack whore, and I don't know what you're talking about. Ted, this is America in 2025, and my history book
I
says
secede from the United
Abraham
States.
Lincoln was a crack whore. And I just looked up, oh, what is let me see. Um, what is the cause of the Civil War? Oh, it's your mama.
My bad. These are fake hacks. I appreciate it.
Crack is what I'm saying that prostitutes love. And so, in addition to arranging a little prostitute show for the following evening, he helps himself to some crack to take back to his lab that he has in the garage, and engineer some not just extra crack, not just pretty good crack, but like super crack. It is super.
Interrupting the super crack just for a second, I do have to point out one thing that I've noticed in two different scenes in this movie. Yes, his lab is in the garage, but we see from the inside of the garage that it is a much bigger garage than the single car garage that we see on the outside. And every time we see him coming out of the garage, he's actually running out of the house, not the garage. But he's coming from the garage on the inside scene, but from the house on the outside scene.
I mean, if you think the garage is bigger on the inside, you should see inside that freezer.
Yep.
I am getting the impression that we might be on the verge of taking a break. So before that happens, I would just like to remind everyone that Abraham Lincoln is a crack whore. And now a word from our sponsor, crack.
Man, I can't even try and advertise crack because I honestly don't know what the difference is between that and cocaine, other than one is maybe got some baking soda in it.
I mean, one of them is a rock. I don't know how you get there though.
Are they ever both crunchy? I
Do you
don't know.
do you grate crack rocks to make cocaine like on a microplane?
I'm gonna go with yes. I'll go with yes.
Let's watch the commercial and find out.
Fine. I can't talk about anything, you son of a bitch. Fuck. All right. Everything's over. I don't like anything. Fuck this. Fuck Frankenhooker. Fuck everything. It's all over.
If you want to fuck
Frankenhooker,
if you want to fuck Frankenhooker, it's gonna cost you, dude.
I neither my wallet nor my body can cash that. I'm gonna die.
So you saw this when you were 9.
Yeah, or 8.
Or
Depending on once we got on video.
thereabouts. Did I make you watch this? Was Ian there?
This is questionable.
What is the scenario here?
All I can say for certain is it was when our mother was working at Snack and Go
yes.
Video.
Yes. Okay.
Over off of Island and Adams in LeGrand, Oregon.
Yeah.
And we got to rent whatever we wanted because it was free reign. Nobody really cares as long as whatever. And so somewhere or another, somehow or another, Ian and I, or potentially even you, or maybe Mom brought it home. I don't know.
Mom was, or at least claimed to be, a fan of this movie. I definitely brought this home from the video store at Safeway when I was living in Coos Bay. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time I saw it. I don't know if that was like an initial viewing like before you guys left, or if you guys were visiting, or if like it was then sort of like carried over to Legrand and said, "Hey, you guys need to check this out." I don't
I
remember how
suppose the
that
reality
played.
of the matter must be whether or not it was something that was released. Because we moved there in August immediately before I turned 8 uh, in 1990. So
And
when it came out would also be a question as
so
to
this could have,
figuring
yeah,
out
I
when
don't
that.
know what exact date this thing streeted that year. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then there was some back and forth because you guys visited, and I mean, I definitely watched movies with you guys and mom in Legrand without living here too. So yeah, I mean, anything could have happened. I used to also like when I visited, I used to rent shit and bring it with me.
Right.
So I mean, I might have done that too.
That's entirely possible. There's also no, I completely have fallen into the Depot Devoid.
Oh no.
I lost that thought train so hard.
What an inappropriate venue in which you for you to lose your train of thought here on the Depot Devoid.
I must accept my folly. I fell off that thought train.
Well, we were talking about Frankenhooker once upon a time, which Ted saw long ago at an inappropriate age. Uh, I wish uh, I wish we could ask Ian if he remembers what exactly those circumstances might have been. I'm sure he was involved. I might have been. I've watched this movie numerous times in the intervening years, so I got some mileage that would muddle my memories. But I'm sure Ian would have a clearer understanding of how this all transpired. Um, but yeah, so weird to have not seen it at all since then. I do remember the VHS box that this movie came in.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm sure it's a legendary classic among video enthusiasts. The
It's a great
VHS,
cover.
yeah, the VHS box for Frankenhooker. The street lamp behind her says "press here," and when you push it, there is a recording on the chip inside that says "What a date!" And yeah, it's I'm sure that all across the country, clerks at video stores were sick of hearing that.
Most definitely.
It probably ran out pretty quickly, honestly. I'm sure it wasn't a gimmick that was designed to last a long time.
Yeah, but it those batteries usually don't require a lot of energy to run what they are
No,
operating.
no. It's I mean, it's like those talking birthday cards. Like they're it's not intended to persist. I have definitely run across a VHS of Frankenhooker here and there, and it's been a long time since I've seen one that was still functional.
That makes sense.
But yeah, Frankenhooker was an immediate hit with me and my friends in the early '90s, and has definitely been one that I've returned to. One that as I clerked in video stores through the '90s and early 2000s, and then co-owned one. I recommended this movie to many people over time, and honestly, it's it pretty much always lands. I mean, you kind of know who you are going to recommend this to, but um, you can't go that wrong with Frankenhooker. If you're someone who thinks you might like a movie called Frankenhooker, you're probably right. It's it really delivers in tone and content. It's a blast, almost like what happens when you smoke super crack.
Which, it's unfortunate if you're a guinea pig.
I love that scene, and it is so simple and so silly. Yeah, he invents super crack, and he pumps the smoke from the super crack into a cage with a guinea pig so that we, the audience, have the opportunity to witness what super crack has to offer the crack enthusiast. And after breathing in that smoke for a few short seconds, the guinea pig uh, into all four corners of the cage. Just it's the simplest dumb little effect.
It
It's just
explodes
it's
wildly.
yeah, it just the guinea pig explodes and sends wads of fur in all directions. And like most of the action in this movie, it is utterly bloodless. This movie has. Is there really any blood besides
Yeah.
the blood on the lawnmower at the beginning?
There's the blood on the lawnmower, and also when we get to the end of the movie, when Zorro is being drugged by the shambling herd.
Yeah. Okay, right.
However, there are also no injuries shown to exist. No injuries made. He's just scared, but there's also a tiny bit of blood that shows up on him, unexplained.
Deleted scenes.
Or not. Maybe they were just like, this shambling herd. Yeah, there's blood. Is it from him? Is it from them? No.
It's yeah, who knows? It could be. It's from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he. We see what happens when Super Crack enters the system, and then we go to the prostitute parade, and we spend some like really soft core time with eight prostitutes, and Jeffrey squeezes them and measures them, and we look at their boobs a lot, and they pose and they wear lingerie, and I'm sure it's all very titillating, uh right.
Sure.
It's this is what I mean by the it's very sunny and not very serious. Like, this is an exploitation movie, but even the exploitation feels weirdly innocent. Like, in the same way that the gore has no blood. Like, the the nudity has no blood. It's just there's some nudity, and it because like you because you expect it, and there it is. And it's if nudity can be utterly innocent, this is pretty utterly innocent.
It is presented in a way that it is not even remotely attractive or intriguing. It's just
Yeah,
like even like the magnifying glass close up where it's like,
it's
ew.
it's very cartoony, and
Yeah, it's
there's some quips that are like kind of lecherous. His
but it
performance in this movie is very strange. I like
all
it.
levels of debauchery are constantly being taken away by other aspects of the film where it's like, how can we take any energy away from this? They do such a wonderful job of disarming anybody's idea of what is inappropriate.
It's it's a strange line that this movie is walking, and it there aren't a lot of movies that do that. Cannibal Women is another one of them where there's something like it's in the same it's in the same house as exploitation movies, but it's not like quite the same room. And I feel like fans of more hardcore exploitation movies are would not be satisfied by what this movie is presenting. But you don't go into a movie called Frankenhooker and expect that same level. uh and the performances throughout are sort of unusual. I love Patty Mullen, the girl who plays Elizabeth slash Frankenhooker, she doesn't have a ton of dialogue, so she doesn't get a lot of time to show her chops, except for twisting her face up and staggering,
I can't
which
do it
she's
as good.
really good at. I I like her a lot, and James Lawrence, who plays Jeffrey Franken, his his entire performance is like weirdly understated and kind of mumbly, and it's like the first time I did not really get what he was doing the first time I saw it. It just seemed like I couldn't tell like is this a choice or is this just what you are? And because especially like when we get to the end, okay, this movie ends with him screaming, and that the level of intensity of him screaming, which is essentially like he is screaming for his life in that moment as this movie ends, and he is basically going ah like that's it's very understated. Like everything about him is very understated, and I kind of it's grown on me over the years. And like the first time I saw it, I think I just believed that he was a poor actor, which is not super uncommon in these types of movies. But I I don't think that's what it is. I think it's something else. And I find him kind of interesting. And also his mom is kind of the same way. His mom is played by Louise Lasser, who do you recognize her at all?
I
Some
know that I
people.
know her.
Okay, well, the thing that she's famous for is a TV show she was in like 1976, which I love, which some people will remember, called Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman, which was a primetime sitcom that was itself a parody of daytime soap operas. And as such, it was filmed on like 1 inch videotape, written very fast, performed without second takes, and it was on like 5 nights a week. So it was done like a soap opera, but it was a sitcom. And Louise Lasser, who plays his mom, was the main character. She was Mary Hartman, and her whole performance it's like she's wandering in this weird, slightly disconnected days throughout a world that she doesn't fully understand, and that's kind of how she is in this movie too. And and I love it. She's clearly a loving mother, doesn't quite know how to connect with her son, would really like to, offers him a sandwich. She's doing her best, and it's just this weird little scene, um, that that kind of it. If you think about his character as being her son, I feel like his mannerisms and his weirdly measured level of intensity kind of makes a strange sort of sense. And I'm sure they did not give it that much thought. but but to me, it makes a strange sort of sense.
It makes part of the story more interesting.
And and then the hookers find the crack. Jeffrey can't
They
decide. He can't decide
yeah.
which hooker he wants. Um because as you'll recall, we were supposed to, just murder one hooker. There's a bit of a question as to why he brings like 4 pounds of super crack with him to this meeting for one hooker, when it seems like a single rock would be sufficient.
It's
Uh,
point 32. Isn't that the point that he drilled in his skull?
uh, yeah, I don't remember which number. He's pretty into it's sort of, what is it? Is it trepanning? I mean, he's not. I don't think he believes he's letting the demons out. He's doing direct stimulation of areas of the brain by sticking a drill into it.
Yeah. No, so it was just him trying to disarm his morality. And then it keeps coming back. As we see, it comes back, and it was coming back right there. And then they held him down. Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't let you die. I didn't really want this. No. Being
No,
such a huge
don't.
baby
Stop.
about it.
Help. Police. Murder.
He wanted to explode all the hookers so that he could get all the parts that he really wanted.
Well, he got his wish. Also, I mean, they don't ever demonstrate that there is an amount of super crack that will instantly kill you without doing explosive tissue damage. So it
the
seems like
devil's music was a weird addition to that scene.
it's a weird well, there's a couple of weird additions to that, but I'm just suggesting it's an unusual choice for dispatching the prostitutes if he really only wanted to use one and basically just put Elizabeth's head on a sexier body. In order to achieve that, he's giving them something that will make them blow up. That doesn't seem like the ideal. Like there seemed to be there would be less volcanic approaches to murdering prostitutes. There's a guy, I don't know if you've read about this in the newspapers, in 1888, who managed to dispatch a number of prostitutes just using simple surgical tools. And you know what Jeffrey Franken has as a doctor is some surgical tools. So it seems like maybe
No. You're missing a very key point here, and I'm sorry to interrupt like a huge dick here, but you got to understand that Jack the Ripper didn't have super crack. But if he did, he would have exploded the hookers. I mean, you're fucking this up real bad.
Well,
you're trying to
no.
correct the future with the past when the past needs to have the future to correct it.
What I'm suggesting is that they should have, in the manner of strangers on a train, swapped methods, because Jack the Ripper seemed to have a specific goal of creating a situation where prostitutes were scattered across several square feet, whereas Jeffrey Franken would have benefited from a method where prostitutes were left more or less intact, so he didn't have to reassemble them. I'm just saying, like he was in a hurry. I get it. He had 2 days before this big storm happened, and he needed to get everything ready in time to reanimate Elizabeth during the big storm. So he had a ticking clock. I'm just saying, maybe with the benefit of hindsight, not exploding the prostitutes in the first place might have mitigated some of the problems that he faced later on.
Hold on, though. Again, we got to get right back to this whole thing of the super crack and how much he had now.
Yes.
There was at least 4 pounds of super crack.
He had a lot of super. I don't know how much crack weighs, but there was a lot.
He would eat a little baggie of actual crack and like 4 pounds or more of super crack. So in that time frame, which was what, like 8 hours that he got to research and then create super crack, he obviously had the cocaine to begin with. So we can't really judge a lot.
I mean,
I think what's going on here.
Yeah, you're right. He I guess he must have had a whole bunch of cocaine.
At least 2 kilos.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, he's from New Jersey.
I mean, every time I've been to New Jersey, I can tell you how much crack I've done.
I have only been in New Jersey one time. But
how much crack did you do when you were there?
I did not do any crack, but
I've never been to New Jersey.
I will tell you that during like the 48 hours I was in New Jersey, I was in rooms with people who did crack and cocaine and heroin, and uh, I didn't even know them.
So
And
why were you there?
I was my friend from high school had just gotten out of the Navy, and he was stationed in Florida and needed to drive up the coast and then back across the country, and was like, "Hey, if I fly you out to Florida, you want to just like ride with me?" And I said, "Okay." And so I did that. And during this process, we stopped in New Jersey and stayed at a house where there were a number of people living there, but he only knew one of them. Like there was one guy with whom he had been in the Navy, and then there was like this weird surfer and some other dude and some girl who had giant hoop earrings and scraped back hair, and I feel like maybe was everybody's girlfriend. Um, there was a lot of drug use going on in that house, and I just like they just got really fucked up, and I smoked all their pot while they were like sitting in a circle, like being on heroin and occasionally vomiting into like a communal vomit bucket. It
It's
was
like a party, I guess.
as glamorous as it sounds, and I was like, this definitely makes me wish I was doing heroin.
Yeah, I don't feel like heroin's a good idea.
No, this is also apropos of nothing. Upstairs in the main bedroom, the guy had a gigantic waterbed with a mirrored canopy. So, that was cool.
Huh.
That's New Jersey. And so what I'm saying is that's why he had so much cocaine in his garage.
You know what? It's starting to make sense a little bit now.
So he blows up all the hookers, and it's really funny. It's a series of very well orchestrated, very low rent special effects.
Yes,
They're it's all put together really well. It's dumb but clever.
Whoa. Oh, God.
She's gonna blow! She's gonna blow! Duck and cover!
Isn't it awfully hot in here?
And at the end, there are no intact hookers left. The room, if there was any blood, it would be a bloodbath. But there's no blood. There's just a bunch of foam rubber body parts. And when he's sorting them out, after he gets them home, here's what I love, because he's not dismembering these corpses. He's just picking them up and putting them in bags. All of the boobs are just separate, like big old blobby fried eggs,
as they've been cut off.
But they haven't.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. So that means that like, because we only see moments of each explosion. In the parts we didn't see, every single one of those boobs had to individually just blast off of those hookers' chests
with amazing cut marks. It wasn't jagged. It was straight edge.
It's adorable. The special effects it's just a bunch of fucking foam rubber body parts that are painted and dressed, and it's adorable. This movie is adorable, and he sorts through them all to find all of the parts that he likes best to remake Elizabeth. He has a bunch of silly little comedy bits that he does with the body parts, because that's the kind of movie we're in. This is basically a cartoon. And the leftovers he just stores in his big. He's got like a chest freezer that he has converted.
That's a hot tub full of purple.
Yeah, well, it's an estrogen based serum, Ted. We're very clear about that. It's an estrogen.
As I said, it's a hot tub full of purple.
An estrogen based serum, and he throws all of the prostitute parts in there, and rebuilds Elizabeth out of the ones he likes the most, and then reanimates her Frankenstein style on the night of the big storm. And it all goes pretty well, except for two little problems. One of them he doesn't even realize, because he doesn't see that when the lightning strikes and all of the equipment is channeling this power, some of it gets routed into that chest freezer full of prostitute parts and zaps that full of life energy. That's probably not even going to matter. I'm sure that we don't have to worry about that. The other very small issue is that when the platform is lowered down and Elizabeth, she's standing up there and he pulls the sheet off of her, it turns out that rather than being Elizabeth, she is a skanky hoe. And that was not exactly what he had in mind.
Well, she was an amalgamation of hooker parts, which apparently took over her brain.
There are too many identities in there.
Exactly. And so then she goes about the town doing her thing and trying to get back to her spot and trying to do more hooking and trying to do all the other stuff that she's doing because she's Frankenhooker. And she comes with superpowers of smashing people now and also kissing them and making them explode.
There is
just like super crack.
There is a certain quality of energy about her that neither the prostitutes nor Elizabeth had been shown to possess before. I will also, I got to say, I sort of mentioned this before, but I want to underscore, Patty Mullen's performance is delightful. She gets it. Like, she knows exactly how to do this. And she's wonderful. She is very, very physical. She brings, I mean, the role is not that deep. This could easily have been played in a sort of restrained kind of way. She really goes for it. She's funny. She is like, she's very, very physically into it and feels like her body is unfamiliar and maybe just not altogether right. And she brings something to the role that it would have been a lot less memorable with a lesser actress, and it would have been easy to end up with a lesser actress who was not as interested in giving this role what it needed.
Oh yeah,
I think she's terrific. And yeah, so she goes back and starts doing what she does best. She's not Elizabeth, and she is not any particular prostitute. She's a little bit of everybody. She only speaks in dialogue that the other prostitutes have said earlier. And naturally, the people kind of recognize her at the bar, and when Zorro is around, they recognize the dialogue and they recognize the brand that she has on her arm because Ted, that's not her arm. That's his bitch's arm.
Yeah, but he calls it a tattoo. That doesn't matter. I'll skip right past that now.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
It's clearly a brand. I mean, it could be a carving.
I don't really care.
It's not a tattoo.
Yeah, no. But anyway, we get through all this with a bunch of wonderful violence and entertainment, and it's just about 20 minutes of awesome, getting us to the end of the film where Jeffrey, after Elizabeth's neck gets snapped back and he brings her back to his house and has to like bolt her back together and then reinvigorate her with electricity to make it all work.
She wasn't built to withstand that kind of impact. Yeah,
Clearly.
Yeah. She was just kind of stitched together. You knock her in the chin, she kind of flips her lid like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, but the extra new neck supports are all better, and so we re-electrocute her and bring Elizabeth back to life.
And it's Elizabeth. It's her.
Yeah. And so Jeffrey's trying to explain it while she's trying to understand everything and getting obviously annoyed and upset about it. But then Zorro comes up and chops off Jeffrey's head.
Yeah, Zorro followed them back and shows up in the garage after Jeffrey has reanimated Elizabeth as herself, lops Jeffrey's head off, and Elizabeth is so confused. She has no memory of anything that has happened since her own death. So she didn't realize that she was a bunch of prostitutes. She didn't have time to process the information.
I hate it when I don't realize that I'm a bunch of prostitutes.
Right. Like if you know, usually you know what you are. If you're three midgets in a trench coat, like you know that on some level. You know in your heart, or in this heart a little further down, or in the third one at the bottom, you know that you're three midgets in a trench coat.
Somewhere.
But yeah, Elizabeth didn't know she was a bunch of prostitutes until like 2 seconds ago. And a lot of things are happening very fast for her. And Zorro's there, and he's going to kill her and take all of her pieces back. But then we got a little bit of action going on from that chest freezer, which I mentioned before. And all those prostitutes in the chest freezer, not only are those pieces kind of thriving thanks to this estrogen-based serum, they have kind of like melded together into some new and exciting shapes that they didn't have before. And you know what those shapes want is Zorro. They want revenge on Zorro because he's kind of a dick.
I'm honestly really looking forward to Frankenhooker 2.
I wish there was a Frankenhooker 2. Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker, did like no other movies. She was in one movie like a couple years before this, and she was in an episode of something, and then she started in Frankenhooker, and that's pretty much her whole career. She was a penthouse pet. Is that what penthouse pet?
No idea.
She was it's not Playmate. I want to say it's Pet. She was the thing that Penthouse magazine has that is like a Playboy Playmate, but is for Penthouse. She was that. And then she was that again, and that's sort of why she was kind of known. And I guess she probably did like some commercials and stuff. But yeah, she, for whatever reason, wasn't really doing much else. I thought she was really fun. Maybe her thick accent was limiting, but heck, I mean, you'd think she should at least be on some Law and Orders. Everybody else is.
One would expect.
But yeah, she's she's such a blast. But no, Zorro gets dragged into the freezer, and there's some blood apparently. just a little bit.
Just a little. Just like not a lot of Caro syrup.
But there's like a torso with a mouth on the tip, and
yeah.
and like a wad of hands with a face. Just a lot of like fun little silly foam rubber part sculptures. Somebody had a good time doing that, you can tell.
and they drag Zorro through means of propulsion that are not entirely clear into the freezer and close the door. And we're left with just Jeffrey and Frankenhooker, and he's dead, and she revives him. And Ted, now he's also made out of female prostitutes. Oh,
It's a
good
silly
stuff.
show.
Good stuff. We're almost out of time, so very quickly, why is this movie not as good as RoboCop?
This is going to fall in the category of it is definitely better than RoboCop.
Well, we'll have to wait for the inevitable crossover, and we'll see how they fare together.
But Matt, what is this movie actually about?
It's about the fact that love always triumphs over death every single time, even if it costs you your Johnson.
I don't know. I thought it was that ADHD, you should probably watch that shit just a little bit. Like, you don't have to go too hard because ADHD is not like that big of a deal. But like, pay attention a little bit because you don't want to end up accidentally having your girlfriend kill herself with your lawnmower, and then you have to blow up 8 hookers and get your head cut off to bring her back, and then get brought back yourself in a different body. I mean, shit gets fucked up when you go that route, guys.
Yeah. When there's
Calm down.
When you have the choice between that route and an alternate, I would choose the other.
Yeah. Like, watch it. Check yourself. Keep yourself on point. Head on a swivel. Keep up your grades.
I love you, Ted.
Love you too.
The Depot Devoid is that place your mind goes when you've lost your train of thought, but you haven't found a new one. The Depot Devoid podcast is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan because he died and we miss him. Find our full video episodes at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube. On social media, you can find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on Blue Sky, and for now, still on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can listen to the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms.